Last stand, and I came to deliver. Been called a Clinton operative, a Russian, and a grifter. By libs, a washing student debt, proud to be an intern, sucking up to pigs who get a tax cut in the midterms. You cut the ties but never heal the wrist burns. Capitalist shackles wrap and penetrate like ringworms around the necks of those whose deaths will not affect the king's purse or the coffers of the company the king serves, who manufacture mandated tinctures. Their safety data hanging from a fixture, half a mile skyward, just dangling from the rafters. My grift is sobbing till I'm cackling with laughter. I guess I would've made a decent actor. I'd be great at crying on command until they cut plus 40 minutes after. When the director waves a hand, it ain't a rap, it's now a legal matter. Honey, my grift is weeping on a mic until I'm hacking up airstrike verses like it's bombs away and batter up. Swinging on these bigots, they keep killing us to fatten up. Kill the switch, eat the rich, I think they're finally fat enough. Grab your knife and fork, the world is yours, just say you've had enough. And if you're comfy, you could go ahead and laugh it up. Tell me how the most important vote I'll ever cast is like the choosing of a bus, in that it might not take you anywhere you want, but no one can deny the fact the bus is now no longer where it was. And that's the kind of progress we should celebrate and trust. Spoken like a kid who never took a bus. Spoken like a piece of shit that used some cash to mask his stink and truly thinks he's one of us. Spoken like a terminally unserious person who equates our cries for rights to mixed up orders from a server. It paints a privileged picture of what you would label urgent if the worst thing you've experienced in life has been the time your waiter accidentally brought a tray of gold flake scallop when you clearly ordered gold flake urchin. And now you're storming out the restaurant and hopping in a Tesla. You got 80 pounds of Tony Fauci merchant.
Rewind 2 chains won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride. Rewind 2 chains won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride.
Best to place your bets on weaponizing the identity of every limp progressive claiming grassroots integrity. Policy is a slippery slope for all of its complexity, so flex your brave resistance with this Ilhan Omar NFT. Numbered 1 of 723. Each depicts her valiantly championing a bill before she lays it at a donor's feet. And she can throw her hands up in the air with AOC and say if only Nina Turner could have voted present too, that's why we need another seat. We need some more progressives we elect to only tweet, who live to serve humana and their label of elective slapped on every patient's gravest needs. And every station plays the theme that medical professionals agree on the effectiveness and safety of injections authorized for this emergency. And in purely unrelated news, the profits of the ones who manufacture vaccines just increased by nearly 36 billion with a fucking B. Sometimes it feels like we're the only ones that see. Sometimes it feels like all of us are lost at sea. And every time we think we see an island on the tip of the horizon, it turns out to be another measure making sure we're kept within the watchful eye of murderous authority. And so I guess my grift is crying for the future they denied us, where the people who would buy us are a mockable minority. And we are more than genomes under warranty. And we are more than serfs in constant quarantine. If I had a single breath left, I'd let the chorus scream. I'd announce our leaders claiming none for all and more for me. None for all and more for me. None for all and more for me. None for all and more for me.
Rewind to a chance won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride. Rewind to a chance won't make you wait in such a long line. Life's not just a way to waste your free time. Air that's fit to breathe is not a free ride. Free ride.
It takes a strong woman and a voice without fear to speak up in the face of who we are this year. So if you see a strong woman, tell her she's strong, because the strong don't get to speak for very long. We love to sing the praises of our First Amendment rights. We love to feign encouragement to truly speak your mind. Tell you that your speech is free, go say what you like. But our speech isn't free. We pay for it in friends and they're dropping like flies, disappearing right before our eyes. And every day what Twitter calls free speech is being redefined, slowly shaped in Biden's image and the alt-right. Gutless rape apologists and mothers who are quick to say they want Trump out so bad that they would offer Joe their child for a night. I tell myself that all of those are bots so I can function in my off time. Fuck, I'm trying to raise a child. I don't have the time or means to find out where these people live and hold them to the fire until they swear that they can see the light. So you can keep the party, it is not where my allegiance lies. It's in defending every rape survivor scrutinized. It's in uplifting every voice they try to euthanize. Your leaders see you, honey, but they do not view with human eyes. Instead, they let us have our little space to bicker. Split up into factions where we're grouped by belief, and I bet you Twitter sits back and bets on which will eat itself quicker. Free speech is governed by an all-seeing eye and a silent listener who pulls the plug on anyone who dares to try and tell you that you're prisoners. Arbitrarily suspends a woman trying to defend herself from colonies of rape enablers flooding her DMs with trauma triggers. Then she's suspended. And they don't tell her why, but I think we understand. But let me get it straight for her assassin if he's listening, cause he's such a simple man. You can call a woman a whore or a bitch or make light of her rape or pretend like you know where she lives. Go dig up a picture of her parents or her kids and there's zero repercussions. Isn't that how it stands? But somehow she gets banned? Well, in case you didn't look into the people that you silence, you seem to target those of us who fight to stem the tides of bitter vitriol from those intent on mocking rape survivors and belittling domestic violence. Well, Twitter banned me now before I find that fucking Chad and drag him out his filthy basement by his eyelids. Say, if you could see me, motherfucker, I am smiling. Speech is not free, but it's a sliding scale based on how well you follow guidelines. How well you keep your mouth shut.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? What's up, everyone? Oh my God, it's Sunday night already, and this is Indy. That's Reef sitting next to me, at least virtually. What's up, everyone? He's in Florida. I'm in Jersey. We're not really very close together. Everything hurts him.
Everything hurts.
Somebody was working out this
Everything
weekend.
hurts.
Not me.
I sore.
I had a sick kid, so I have an excuse. But Yeah.
Because he would totally be working out without doing that.
Oh yeah, you bet.
I mean, bro, you don't get this swole without doing something. You know what I'm saying?
I got the 24-inch
You gotta be doing
pythons.
something. You gotta fucking take it to the gun show. I gotta conceal these puppies, dog. You know?
All right. Well,
Gotta get that license.
We are going to talk about some news. This is Sunday evening. Birdhouse Blues. We're live over on Rumble. We're live over on YouTube. We're over on Kick. I see Iron Chief over hanging out on Kick. I see some people hanging out over on Substack. We're simulcasting everywhere, and I'm freaking psyched about that. Shout out to everybody that's been watching AM Wake Up all weekend for the Third Eye Carnival. That is wrapping up. Actually, I think that might even be live still somewhere. We were supposed to be covering it today on Twitter, but for some reason it didn't make it out. Yesterday, we did stream like 8 hours of the show. Not only that, but I also did a one-on-one with Ryan Christian for The Last American Vagabond this week. I was so excited about that. I waited a long time to have that conversation. I'm excited to do another one. We had about an hour, 15 minutes. He had a hard stop, and we had a lot more to go over. So we're going to be doing another one soon. I'm just waiting to schedule that with him. But that was awesome. If you did not get a chance to listen to that, by all means do. We had a clip show with Jess.
That was great.
It was. Yep. Thank you.
That was great.
Yep. And Angel had an Angel in the afternoon on Thursday, a special one because he hung out July 4th. Then they did Pro Wrestling Talk last night. Go check out Angel and on the Ocho also. We're going to be live on the Ocho later for boats smashing into other boats. And we'll be back on YouTube again this weekend as well. Yes, Kate, thank you. Ryan was so great. He really is. And he's so gracious with his time. And again, he's one of these people that I just look up to in the space. Because he's doing it. Like, he's trying to build. He's doing it independently. He's not taking on the sponsors. He's doing all the things that we want to see people do when they're trying to make this independently. And he's one of the leaders out there, and he's been doing it a long time. So, you know, it's great to get information and kind of learn about his process and how he thinks about going about creating a show and putting together his documents and everything else that he does. Just wow. Yeah. So tonight I want to talk about ICE a bunch because there's a lot of narrative going out about ICE, but also there's fear mongering happening about ICE, and it's justified in a lot of ways. I mean, if we see what ICE has been up to for the last 5 months since Trump took office, it's kind of scary. And now it's getting ramped up even more. Now they got this bill that they just increased ICE's funding a whole lot more. And I've heard of troops being on the border now instead of customs. So you've got military now operating border spots that never happened before. We're also going to talk about Israel. Fuck Israel, because they've been ramping up their murder spree the last week or so. Since July 1st, they're now hitting their quota of 100 Palestinians a day in Gaza. So it's literally just an extermination at this point. Like, they're just trying to survive, and then who knows how and where they're going to be displaced if they can survive. Awful. Then we're going to bring a piece from our friend and brother Gordon Dimmack, Indie Media Award honoree, talking about some of the contrasts between what it takes to be an independent media and some of the things that you're required to do when you're in corporate media, because he had an interesting train ride. And then we're going to talk about our friend Descent and Bloom. She's actually in chat over at Substack right now. What's up, Descent? She did a piece we did a piece last week about the voting machines and this guy, Jack. Why did I just lose my head?
Jack
Cobb.
Della Maddalena.
Jack Cobb. So Jack Cobb is one of the people in charge of certifying the voting machines, and he made some changes and kind of blew off some changes intentionally, we think, that were not insignificant and would basically allow for people to change the entire configuration file, configuration.ini file. That's a pretty big important file on a machine. And now if changes are made to that, effectively, there's no red alert and red flag that goes off for people. That was an article that she put out recently, the other day, or maybe even today. But last week, we read the article about the machines and this guy's history, along with another guy, in how they've moved from company to company to company, certifying machines without actually testing them or by using software that the companies had provided themselves. Well, who better to test it than the companies themselves? No independent third-party verification whatsoever. They're just taking whatever.
Because whenever they have any other third parties come in, it's fucking immediately hacked, immediately dealt with.
It's unbelievable. Kate over on Substack. This is actually on YouTube and Substack simultaneously, and as well as Rumble and Kick and Twitch and Twitter and a bunch of other places. But thank you for joining. So Descendant Bloom wrote this awesome piece about Jack Cobb and his background, and it turns out that the building that houses this company, this Pro V&V that certifies our elections, it's owned by Jack Cobb, which is a little bit shady because he doesn't really want people to know it or advertise that. And it happens to be in like an industrial park with all these military contractors, because this is like the Silicon Valley of military contractors, where these guys are located in Huntsville, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. So we're going to talk about
Alabama.
Right. We're going to talk about that. Got a lightning round, and then we will get to boats and do some React stuff later on. But before we get started, if you're able to, and it means, this is our Wall of Fame. Thank you to everybody who really has stepped up and helped our network and helped our channel by throwing us a couple of bucks. Cash App, ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com. It's Indie News Network. $sign Indie News Network again on the Cash App. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. The website is indienewsnow.com. We made a news website. There's a whole section over there where you can do a Stripe donation, any amount that you want. And then, again, we're at Substack right now at indiemediatoday.com. That's my Substack, where the live stream for this show and all the clips go. And then there's innnewsletter.com, where we will be streaming later for boats. And as well as that's where I put out the daily update for the network. We've been streaming INN News there. We've been streaming Jett there. We've been using that as another YouTube type channel, but also a way to podcast and put that out permanently as a blog post. Substack is really becoming incredibly versatile for us, and it's censor free. Very important as well. You know, they don't censor us, and we can say whatever we want.
Newsletter near you.
Yep. Rumor has it, no, she's not there yet. But more publications and more big names keep joining every day. Who was it that I saw? There was another like right wing. Oh, you know who was? Lord Bebo is now over on Substack. Like everybody is now getting over there. Of course, everybody's now getting over there. No, he's not on Substack anymore. I don't believe that the FBI is on Substack, but he is the assistant FBI
it definitely
director.
is.
Well, but they don't have like a page where they publish like that. They're just monitoring and doing all kinds of stalking. But I wanted to start with ICE and talking about what's happening with ICE and how they are terrorizing. There's no other way to describe it. The Latino community, all the immigrant communities are starting to get really worried about what these folks are doing. So you've now got Haitians that are getting deported by ICE. You've got Chinese immigrant students that are being targeted by ICE. You have all the anti-genocide protesters that have been targeted by ICE. And then, of course, you've got the Venezuelans and the Dominicans and all the Latinos that are targeted by ICE. So,
what country you from?
Yeah. If it's not here, and then they're also, that's just phase one. Phase two is to get rid of the undesirables that were born here naturally. So this is an article from Other Words, publication I subscribe to, independent, says the nation of immigrants under attack, written by Farah Hassan. She's one of these people who is certainly concerned about this. Over 70% of the immigrants kidnapped by ICE have no criminal record. Some are even U.S. citizens. They just don't give a crap. And part of it is because of this quota, and we're going to talk about that in a second, that Stephen Miller and his Gestapo department have put in place. What she writes is that across the country, ICE agents are tearing families apart, terrorizing communities, and upending businesses by design. Mario Romero was among those arrested by ICE recently. His daughter, Yurian Contreras, witnessed ICE agents taking him chained by the hands, feet, and waist after they raided his workplace in Los Angeles. Over 40 other immigrant workers were also arrested. Like, it's force for just to show force at this point. It's just to intimidate. It was a very traumatic experience, she told Guardian, but it was only the beginning of inhumane treatment that our families would endure. The architect of this anti-immigrant agenda, as we said, top Trump aide Stephen Miller, has demanded that ICE make 3,000 arrests like these per day, an arbitrary quota with no legal basis. To meet this quota, masked, plainclothes ICE agents embrace violent and unconstitutional tactics to abduct people from courthouses, citizenship appointments, churches, graduations, restaurants, Home Depots, farms, and other workplaces. They don't arrest the bosses, by the way. They arrest people without warrants or probable cause, violate their right to due process regularly, we've been screaming about that, and deny them their basic human dignity. Again, by design, part of the plan. There's mounting evidence of ICE using racial profiling. Go figure. Quote, we have U.S. citizens who are being asked for their documents and not believed when they attest to the fact that they're U.S. citizens. There's Angelica Salas, who directs the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. They just happen to be Latino. Our friend Arturo Dominguez will tell you all about that. In one disturbing case in Chicago, ICE agents grabbed, handcuffed, and forced Julio Noriega into a van as he stepped out of a Jiffy Lube in late January. ICE detained him for 10 hours before releasing him when they realized he was a U.S. citizen. In another instance, ICE forced 2 children, both who were U.S. citizens, one undergoing stage 4 cancer treatment, onto their mother's deportation flight to Honduras in April. The cancer patient is 4 years old, and ICE deported him without his medication. The inhumane treatment continues in ICE's sprawling network of private prisons and county jails. And here we go, follow the money. The U.S. spends over $3 billion annually on the world's largest immigration detention system, which is primarily operated by for-profit prison contractors like Geo Group and CoreCivic. These facilities are notorious for poor medical treatment, dangerous overcrowding, due process violations, and preventable deaths, with very little accountability, by the way. The largest ICE detention center in California, Adelanto, is operated by Geo Group and currently houses dozens from the LA raids, including Yurian's father, Mario. The prison has a sordid history, that's to say the least. Recent detainees have been forced to sleep on the floor without blankets and pillows and have been denied a change of clothing, underwear, or towels for 10 days. That's from the LA Times. So it had to be true. If it made it all the way out to corporate media, you know that it's much worse than that. If these attacks on immigrants were really about following the law, then immigrants fleeing war and persecution would be able to exercise their right to seek asylum, which is a human right long enshrined under international and U.S. law, but they just got rid of that. Their due process rights would be respected.
Wet foot, dry foot stuff, pretty much.
Right? In fact, the vast majority of immigrants in this country, including those kidnapped by ICE, have no criminal history. According to agency data compiled by research organization Track, out of the 56,397 people held in ICE detention centers as of June 15th, 71.7% had no criminal record. That's, I mean, Kafkaesque. Jailed for doing nothing wrong, for who you are, for your name being what it is. Both Republicans and Democrats have enabled ICE's rampant human rights abuses since the agency's creation in 2003. Thank you so much to George W. Bush for that. ICE functions as a quasi-police force with limited public oversight and uses private data sources like utility bills to conduct unauthorized surveillance of potentially anyone in the U.S., including citizens, as you've seen. The current system has a vested interest in locking up and deporting people instead of pursuing a real immigration solution, like a pathway to citizenship, for example. This system, which includes ICE and its detention facilities, must be defunded and dismantled. Well, that's not happening, at least not in the next 3 years. Not with the amount of money that Trump and Congress just handed them. People abducted by ICE are not numbers. They're someone's entire world. I think we mentioned that recently. They're cherished members of communities, and they're on the front lines of defending all our civil liberties. We must stand together and demand that ICE leave our communities. We're a nation of immigrants, after all. At least I thought we were. That's what they told me we were. But now we're a white supremacist Christian nation, apparently. So that's number one. The other person I wanted to bring stuff from is actually Jen Budd, who is an ICE whistleblower. He joined Border Patrol, all right? Former senior Border Patrol agent turned immigrant rights activist. She's literally like spending the money that she makes to help buy barrels and house and clothe people that are coming into the country. Just incredible. And she sees firsthand from her former colleagues exactly what's happening. All right. So she posts this tweet from Aaron Reichland Melnick. Want to know where all the immigration enforcement money is going to? We got you covered. $51.6 billion for border wall, including $5 billion for CBP checkpoints and facilities, another $45 billion for ICE detention, and $29.9 billion for ICE enforcement. That's $170 billion. By the way, that's as much as we gave to like Ukraine. Yeah, billion with a fucking B. That's right. That's more than Pfizer made in 3 years peddling the fucking virus. Bullshit. All right, that was $36 billion with a fucking B. If I remember Jesse Jett saying that. All right. That's an obscene amount of money. For what? They created this problem in the first place, which isn't even really a problem. It's an invented quote unquote problem. Fabricated completely. Insane. All right. So Jen continues and says, here's an addition. So she has this series of posts. These are the people who are in charge of our streets kidnapping people. This is who Senator Gallego and others want more of. So here's Joel Martinez, right? Deputy of Border Patrol, Deputy Chief Border Patrol, D.C. He was warned by CBP over the Office of Professional Responsibility. Multiple female agents have made complaints. He's had alleged sexual misconduct. He then retired. The investigation was stopped and no criminal charges were filed. Huh? How convenient.
Of course not.
And you've got St. Tony Barker Jr., Chief of Washington, D.C., January 23, warned by the CBP Office of Professional Responsibility. Again, multiple female agents like making complaints.
Oh, sorry. It was about something else.
Same thing. Father, same story. Alleged sexual misconduct, then retired. Investigation stopped. No criminal charges filed. His father was a CBP officer convicted of child sex crimes. Now, the sins of the father are not the sins of the son, but when it comes to cops,
sometimes is. Like, no offense, but a fucking phrase from a fucking book that's full of bullshit, probably not the best to use.
Efren Lopez Cornejo, Deputy Commander Bortak, Tucson Senator, Tucson Sector, Tucson, Arizona. 14 counts of molestation and exposure to his daughter and stepdaughter
Jesus Christ.
for over 11 years. pleaded guilty to 2 counts, sentenced to no jail time, lifetime probation, and no registered sex offender? Arizona Superior Court, there's the case. You don't believe us? There it is. Here's Dana Thornhill in 2020, chaplain, Tucson sector. Prior to being hired by Border Patrol, he was arrested when he was 14 years old and of child sexual assault, naturally, but the agency still hired him anyway and even made him the chaplain of the fucking sector. Charges, of course, of child pornography and committing child rape of his own daughters.
Because they need that.
He went to prison for 40 years. Go beyond, Border Patrol. CBP, keep us safe. Here's another one. Accused of serial rape for over 20 years after he retired, and DNA linked him to multiple cases, which are still ongoing. Look at these fucking winners right here. These are the assholes that are locking up immigrants that didn't necessarily, that 71% of them committed no crime. Here's more. Edgar Fidel Garcia from Laredo sector. Charged with sexual assault of an intoxicated woman. Nice dude. Bonded out. No case filed. Presumed still an agent. He's out there being a predator right now. We've got Jeremy Cole with a charge of sexual misconduct with a minor. Dropped. How convenient. Pleaded guilty to kidnapping only. Sentenced to 10 years in prison. Nice guys. Here's one in March of this year. Buffalo sector up in Jefferson County. Charged with 4 counts of deprivation of rights under color of law for requiring women to expose their breasts to stay in the country. Pleaded guilty on 2 charges. Sentencing is this month. All right. And this is just a small sample, I'm sure, Jen is showing us. All right. People wake up. This is the Gestapo. They are literally recruiting for the 36 version. I doubt that. DHS has been built and then infiltrated by white Christian nationalists and then turned into the Gestapo. Vet here from recruiting. We would never allow a person into the military with charges like these. I couldn't have a corporal with charges like these, but now we have them get tactical gear, a gun, and fucking badge. What are we doing? Yeah. So Jen also showed that there was a fake news report. Ready for this? They claimed in Fox LA that a North Hills home was Iranian human smuggling hub.
You are fake news.
I wonder if they're trying to create a narrative and for justifying a war with Iran by federal officials arrested 2 people after a raid in North Hills on Friday. But here's what really happened. All right. They had Fox follow them around as they created many fake crossings. ICE and Fox lie when they claim to have warrants or are doing drug busts. They lie. So there's this lady. This is not Jen Budd, but let's listen to what she has to say.
The news report that KCAL9 News did on the ICE raid in North Hills, and I really felt compelled to do a compare and contrast video based on what I actually saw there. Now, those of you who know me know that I am not some crazy conspiracy theorist looking to find explanations everywhere.
Well, you are now.
It's just with this particular case, what I experienced didn't match up with the news story that was told to the public, nor did it reference the person renting the house who was manhandled by ICE. So I kind of just wanted to get this out there. As some of you know, I went to an ICE raid that was happening in my neighborhood yesterday. I had been getting the notices on local neighborhood apps. I had heard the helicopters overhead, and a friend of mine texted and said, I'm headed over to Home Depot because that's where everyone said it was going to be. I headed over to Home Depot and nothing was happening over there, but I could hear the helicopters and I knew they were outside of my house. This is literally right outside my house. ICE is in the neighborhood trying to disappear people. So I decided to head back over towards my house and see if I could find where the helicopters were. When I got there, there were about 20-ish or so people from the neighborhood there. People coming out of their houses, concerned neighbors, others that had come over that heard what was happening. As you can see, there were also several masked and armed men standing around. All of these men were masked and all had some type of firearm. The one with the pillowcase mask with the Dodger hat, not looking exactly official, wearing stuff from Amazon that can easily be purchased. Also in their cars, they had those little lights you can buy from Amazon that are not official police lights. So look at their fake lights they have in their car. We were there for a couple of hours just waiting, watching. One of the guys who was there as ICE told another person that what they were actually there for was for a drug bust. When it was all over, I went over to the homeowner who was standing outside because I saw the press starting to head over. And since I work in entertainment and interview people, I decided to go ahead and hear what she had to say. Both Fox News and Telemundo were there when I was there. They were interviewing her as well. What she told us was the following.
They gave us an address, but on the warrant it says 16108. It don't say 16110.
Wait, what? Yeah, this was, hang on, I got more.
Okay.
Here's number 2.
Access to go through the whole house.
Were they rough with you? Did they take you to the ground?
No, they didn't take me to me. They pushed me. They manhandled me a little bit, but they didn't put me to the ground.
It was a big surprise to you.
Yes, very. Yeah.
Does this surprise you that this goes on in your neighborhood? It happens to you?
This neighborhood is quiet. This is the first time I ever heard anything around here, so I didn't know what was going on.
They showed you about 6 months?
Yeah, they just gave me the warrant when they left.
But the address didn't match on the warrant.
No, it says that address, but they came from both sides. They said they only took stuff out of there, but they ransacked my place and.
But that's not legal, so you have a case.
Yeah.
They trashed her place too.
How does this make you feel?
I'm
Violated?
I'm upset. I have had
How does this make you feel?
Stressing out, and I'm very stressed out right now. Very stressed out.
Was there anybody else in the house?
No one was with me. They did arrest someone out of there too. I don't know if they named, but they did take someone from out of that house.
And did they take anything else out of the house, like boxes or
Yeah,
anything?
they took a lot of stuff.
Out of this front house right
Out
here?
of the front house.
And now, is this front house a rental or is it?
Oh yes, I have my landlord on here now.
Perfect. And you live here?
I do. Yeah, I do.
How long have you lived here?
7 months.
7 months. And you have no idea why they came here? Nothing, no warning, anything.
Did they give you a reason?
They said after they were finished that they were looking for someone that gave this address as their address.
Imagine my surprise when I tuned into the news that night and saw what they had to say was happening, which was this.
Customs and Border Protection says agents were serving a search warrant at what they're calling a human smuggling hub with ties to national security threats. Earlier this week, CBP said several Iranian nationals were arrested at the same address. CBP says those taken into custody include people on the FBI's terror watch list.
So now this is a human smuggling operation with multiple people from the FBI's most wanted list. They're saying
When
that
the FBI come
they
get
took
them?
7 people into custody during the week. 7 Iranian nationals. FBI terror threats. But yet there wasn't a blip in our neighborhood. There was no notice. Nobody talked about it. Nobody in that block mentioned anything about a raid happening that week on their own block. Nobody on that block knew what was happening. The woman said this about the block.
Does this surprise you that this goes on?
Yeah, she said that it was kind of, oh, here's the rest.
It happens to
Yeah,
you?
this neighborhood is quiet. This is the first time I ever heard anything around here, so I didn't know
And
what
she's
was
only been
going
there
on.
7 months.
I concur.
Yeah.
Our neighborhood is quiet, and if something happens, we know about it. People often go on Ring or Nextdoor or other neighborhood apps to tell everything that's happening nowadays. And you don't think that a human smuggling ring with 7 people being arrested would have been anywhere, or people wouldn't have mentioned that yesterday.
Neighbors tell us someone new moved into the home about 6 months ago.
There was a bunch of young people, and they would hang out at night, pacing on the phone, sitting on the curbs. I know I talked to my neighbors, they were saying that they were kind of intimidated by them.
The woman did say she moved in about 7 months ago.
We did talk to one neighbor who says that the men who were taken into custody did have immigration documentation, that they were here legally, but we have no way to corroborate that, of course, because they're gone now. She's very worried about them.
Watch the lady have the papers.
Which is it? Were all you guys super scared of your neighbors, or are you worried about them? There were also no official police helping or providing a border, perimeter, or anything. And if this was such a huge human smuggling operation they were busting, how come there were no police helicopters, but the Fox News helicopter was hovering above the entire time? So basically, we were told it was a drug bust, it was an ICE raid, and then they told the woman whose house they broke into that they were looking for somebody, and this was the address that they were given. What is the actual truth here? Because
Sound like they need
what
a
the
story
news is
for the
telling
nightly
you
news.
is nothing that any of us observed. How come you didn't interview the woman again, or even take the interview that was already done with the woman whose house that they ransacked and pushed their way into after showing a warrant that had the wrong address on it? Where was the reporting in the story about that woman and what she went through? I would just encourage people to always look for facts and look for truth in stuff. We here in Los Angeles do not want these ICE raids. So thank you for taking a couple of minutes to watch this video and listen to a different perspective of what could have happened yesterday here in North Hills.
Dude. And this is just one story. I mean, stuff like this is happening all over the country.
All over.
They're focusing on Southern California for sure. But damn, like, again, this is just a couple of stories. And I didn't even want to get to, Alligator Auschwitz, not Alcatraz. It's Alligator Auschwitz. They built that fucking thing in 8 days. Would you want to sleep in a place that you knew was built in 8 days in the United States? Maybe if the Chinese built it in 8 days.
In Florida, let alone.
In Florida, right.
Like,
it had minor flooding already. Now, the video that went out that a bunch of people got fooled into sharing was AI based. All right. But yeah. Holy shit.
Huge L if you fell for the AI flooded fucking picture, bro.
Right.
Like, come on. Look at those water physics.
Descent in Bloom became a member. Yay. Thank you. Really appreciate that. That's over on my YouTube channel also, where we're also live. But yeah. So fuck ICE. Not very many people are really covering that angle of the story. And I think that it's important to follow Jen Budd for sure. She's doing incredible work. She's connected with Arturo Dominguez. The two of them are really doing amazing work to report on all the crap that ICE is trying to pull, that they're trying to keep us from learning about. And they're just sweeping it under the rug or glazing it over on corporate media. And you're never going to hear that story if Jen doesn't share it. You know what I mean? So again, thank you so much to Jen and Arturo. If you're able to, and of means, please support INN and support the media you want to see. The ways to do that: Cash App, $ Indie News Network, co-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. We've got our website, indienewsnow.com. And over at Substack, we can either go at indiemediatoday.com, where we're live right now, or at INNnewsletter.com, which is the network's newsletter. You can subscribe there and support. Anywhere you do that really helps. We appreciate it. What is the actual end goal? I would love to know what that end goal is too, Sean. It's frightening. Well, look, the Trump, Stephen Miller's end goal is the whitening of America. Sadly, that's what he wants to do. He thinks that by behaving in the manner that they're doing it and in getting rid of all the immigrants, that the only people left will be the ones who aren't. Except that every family is so mixed these days. Holy crap. How are you going to do that? You're going to start attacking your relatives or inbreeding? Because the herd is getting awfully thin.
Well, they're already doing that in a couple of places.
Well, the dirty South. I mean, they don't call it the dirty South for a reason. Hey, love our Southern brothers and sisters, but you got a reputation, and I'm guessing that there's a reason for that. All right. Yep. So, what's up to everyone? Really appreciate you hanging out over on wherever you are. We're everywhere we can be. We're also on Spotify, but I don't know how much longer we're going to be on Spotify. I don't know if you heard about Spotify, like changing its terms effectively to say that they can do anything they want to your content. They own it 100%. They can market it, alter it, and you have no say in what they do with it. But what? Make clips of it and profit from it, and you get no piece of it. Yeah. Awful. So that's Spotify, but we're there right now. If you search How Do We Miss That, even our clip show is over there. All right. So next thing is our Fuck Israel segment, because we have to do one every week. Thanks, Israel, for making us do a Fuck Israel segment. Stop murdering people, and we will stop doing a Fuck Israel segment. That's on you.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
Especially Illinois Nazis or Middle Eastern, European Nazis. All right.
Yep. They're the same ones, technically. They just found a different necklace to wear, I think.
So Mohammed Safa, who is a CEO, also somehow, what is PVA English? Main representative at the United Nations. All right. So, and at the UN Geneva office. Over 500 Palestinians in Gaza have been killed in the last 96 hours. July 1st through 4th. It's not war. It's genocide. It's systematic ethnic cleansing. It is an attempt to wipe out an entire population of people and to erase their history, to kill their lawmakers. Well, they don't even have lawmakers. To kill their doctors and their educators and their students and their nurses and everybody else in between. So that hasn't stopped. On top of that, an Israeli airstrike on July 2nd killed the Gaza hospital director along with his family. Now, again, remember that we've been talking. Now, this is from Dave DeCamp, antiwar.com, both Indie Media Award honorees, best of the best. Again, we only go to the best of the best here. Israeli attacks have killed 70 healthcare workers over the past 50 days. But they're not targeting healthcare systems, right? And remember that targeting healthcare systems and killing aid workers is a war crime every single time.
Yep.
They do it without shame and without any care. So what Dave writes is that on...
This is just...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I
was going to talk about Dr. Hassam as well, who's still... We have no idea at his, status. So...
If he's even alive, where he is... Right.
Right.
They pushed his trial, whatever that is, 6 further months just so they could torture and imprison him another 6 months.
Torture him more.
But Dave writes that on Wednesday, an Israeli airstrike struck an apartment in Gaza City, which killed Dr. Marwan al-Sultan, the director of the Indonesian hospital, as the Israeli military continues to kill medical workers and decimate Gaza's healthcare infrastructure by design. According to the Associated Press, so you know it was intentionally disseminated as propaganda, Al-Sultan was killed alongside his wife, daughter, and son-in-law. Again, propaganda because the State Department or whoever wanted it pushed out there pushed it out through the Associated Press. That was done by intent. Other reports say his sister is also killed. According to Haaretz, the Indonesian hospital has been out of service since May 21st after an Israeli airstrike destroyed its generators. So, Al-Sultan had been quoted by many media outlets warning of the catastrophic destruction of Gaza's medical infrastructure. That's apparently something that's worthy of a death sentence to the Israelis. According to Healthcare Workers Watch, a Palestinian medical organization, Al-Sultan's killing marks again the 70th healthcare worker killed by the Israeli military in Gaza in the past 50 days. Name any other country that could intentionally murder 70 healthcare workers in 50 days and not be bombed to the Stone Age.
I know of one.
The killing of Dr. Right. The killing of Dr. Marwan al-Sultan by the Israeli military is a catastrophic loss to Gaza and the entire medical community and will have a devastating impact on Gaza's healthcare system. That was, again, by design. Quote, this is part of a much longer and systematic, atrocious targeting of healthcare workers sanctioned by impunity. This is a tragic loss of life, but also an obliteration of their decades of life-saving medical expertise and care at a time when the situation facing Palestinian civilians is unfathomably catastrophic. Now you're taking away the people that could possibly fix the few that are left. The Guardian report said that among the healthcare workers killed over the past 50 days, there were 3 other doctors, the chief nurses at the Indonesian hospital, and Al Nasser Children's Hospital, because you don't want them fixing children, apparently, one of Gaza's most senior midwives, a senior radiology technician, and dozens of young medical graduates and trainee nurses, because why allow the next generation to actually take care of people? On June 6th, the first day of Eid, 9 healthcare workers were killed in one day in airstrikes in the north of Gaza, where they were sheltering with their families. I mean, The Hague, we've got to figure out a way to hold these people accountable. On May 25th, an airstrike on a home in Khan Yunis killed 9 out of 10 children, as we know of doctors Ala al-Najjar and Hamdi al-Najjar. Allah was working as a pediatrician at the Nasser hospital when the strike hit her family, and Hamdi was injured in the attack, succumbing to his wounds a few days later. Allah and her only surviving child, 11-year-old Adam, who was badly maimed, have since been evacuated to Italy for medical treatment. Again, another doctor out of commission, which is exactly what Israel wants. All right. But that's not all, because this one was targeted, and here's why. Mossab Abu Toha, which interestingly had his Substack account suspended yesterday for a few hours. They put it back, thankfully. There's only one person I know of who's ever had their Substack account permanently suspended and disabled. They don't censor. He says, oh my goodness, how did I miss this until now? The timing of Israel's assassination of Dr. Marwan al-Sultan, the director of the Indonesian hospital and one of Gaza's top cardiologists, was no coincidence. It happened on the very same day Gaza Doctors Under Attack was scheduled to air on Channel 4 in Zateo.
Channel 4.
This is the same documentary that the BBC had commissioned and cleared for broadcast back in February before abruptly pulling it on June 20th. I wonder why.
Which why? Why? Even with Israel we know why, but why? Yeah, but like that's not enough.
Yes.
You're a fucking completely other country.
Dr. Al-Sultan's
what the
daughter,
fuck are you doing?
Said the missile struck the only room where her father was staying. It seems like this world still does not understand what Israel is capable of and what they are doing. Again, he's one of the doctors who was in this documentary. But he wasn't even the only doctor.
Could you imagine any other country? Could you imagine any other country being able to just call the BBC and be like, hey, can you pull that documentary about us down? Like that would never happen.
No,
You know,
didn't
they
ask.
did one on Russia.
Ordered them to.
Like
Ordered them to, as if they were the bosses, and they complied. This is a state-run
every time.
media agency.
Every fucking time.
They got somebody by the short and curlies. They got to have film on everybody, and thanks to their spyware, they know everybody's private stuff.
Everything.
They can go after anybody. But he wasn't, again, the only doctor this week that they murdered. All right. Dr. Musa Kafaja, which is a doctor at Nasser Hospital, along with his entire family, including 3 children, when their tent was struck with a missile in southern Gaza. This is him delivering babies. He was one of the most preeminent prenatal doctors, not because he treated soldiers, but because he saved premature babies. Those barely alive and deemed too dangerous to live.
In incubators.
In the eyes of their enemy, his real enemy was the future, so the missile came to silence his heartbeat, to empty his crib, to stop the tiny threats from breathing. What kind of injustice is this? What kind of war sees incubators as a threat? It's not a war. It's a massacre. It's an extermination. And it's disgusting. And we're funding it and arming it.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember, you know, people talking about incubators and babies on the Senate floor and getting us into a war that way.
Yes.
I vaguely remember that.
Correct. Suppressed News.
What happened? I thought we cared about babies.
Suppressed News shares this website. More than 13,000 videos documenting Israel's war crimes archived by type, date, location, weapons Israel used in the genocide, crimes of each military unit, and all details are available at tiktokgenocide.com. Website made by Zionism Observer. Receipts _ LOL. We brought some of their stuff before. And these are just some of the categories.
Right now.
Right? Oh, well, you know who
Make
owns
sure
the
that's
Wayback
saved
Machine.
and archived.
Uh-huh. But yes.
So,
but on top of that, there was also like a database of files put out on top of that. Not just a website, but there's also a database where you can download them, and that's been disseminated. Now, the final thing I wanted to bring up was, remember we talked about Glastonbury a couple of weeks ago when David Miller published the dossiers of all of these fucking Zionists that petitioned Glastonbury to keep kneecap out. Well, so Glastonbury's been a story for a couple of weeks. I think a lot of you heard about what happened at the festival, that Bob Villain was on stage and they tried to, and he said something that got a lot of people very upset. All right.
Yeah.
He wished death on an army, which I guess you're not allowed to do. People are getting arrested for it. People are getting their Twitter accounts shut down for it. I'm guessing that if it was death to an army that the U.S. was not happy with, that they wouldn't be doing that. And not that the U.S. is happy with the IDF either, but they fund them, so therefore you're not allowed to criticize them, apparently, or to wish what they wished. So, Richard Medhurst, who Indie Media Award honoree, who is being silenced himself and is under investigation in 2 countries, allegedly. He says sniping kids in the head, gang raping prisoners. That video came out again, horrific this week. Bombing hospitals, bulldozing cemeteries. We've covered that. Abducting doctors. Again, Hussam Abu Safia. Release and free him right now. Killing journalists, which we've covered just about every week. Killing UN staff. Bombing Israeli hostages. Yes, they cared so much about freeing the hostages that they bombed them. Using prisoners as human shields. Mauling or raping people with dogs. And blowing up homes. But yeah, let's condemn and investigate some unsettling chants at a festival instead. I mean, context here. And, let's put things in perspective. It's wow. I mean, the fact that we even have to say this shit is beyond. Rat Angel, yes, Richie is incredible. Shout out to Richard. Richard is one of the people that I credit with helping me get to where I am, with his coverage back in 2020, 2021, 2022. I mean, he's still doing great work now, but those, especially the Assange trial woke me the hell up. And he woke me up as much on Palestine early on in 2020 as anyone. And then after he did that, seeing what they then did to Gaza, and they destroyed the AP building in 21, and they murdered Shireen, and that permanently sealed it for me. Okay, I get it. This is not, they're not good people and never will be. Sorry, they're just not. Abby Martin put out a thing today about how over 80% of Israelis are in favor of this genocide and of the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and want to even potentially live there themselves. So don't just blame Netanyahu. Don't blame the Knesset. Don't blame the government. This is the policy and the mindset of the majority of Israelis. And
blame it on a BB.
They can't just blame it on the BB. That's what they want to do. It's nice and easy for them to do. So fuck Israel for all of those things.
It's the Likud party and they own the Knesset. No, it's all of you fucks.
Yep. It sure is.
All of you.
All right. All right. So again, we're not getting refunded by YouTube for doing any of that or talking about Bob Villain, and shout out to Bob Villain, by the way, for taking a chance by any chance. Yes, Harps over on Substack. What did he's trying to say is they're cunts. They're fucking cunts. Said Glastonbury. It's perfectly acceptable to say cunts that. Even. But either way, but they are right cunts. They absolutely are. And we're going to stay along with our cunts theme right after that. But again, we're not going to get refunded. So if you have any of it, holy crap. Let me start over. We're not getting refunded by YouTube on that. See, you needed that the other night, and you did not play it for yourself. So I'm calling fraud on that sound bit, sir, because you certainly were tongue-tied. I never heard that shit. All right. All right. But if you are able to, and of means, please support the media you want to see and support INN, support independent media. The ways to do that, we don't like the platforms really getting the money. We'd rather it come to us because they take a lot of fees. Cash App, $Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. IndieNewsNow.com is our website where you can donate direct. INN newsletter over at Substack.com, as well as IndieMediaToday.com, where again we are live right now. Hello and shout out to everybody over on Substack. Good to see you, and thank you for watching over there. So
coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
So we had God, is it 2 years ago that we that we spoke with Gordon on INN News? It's got to be close to 2 years. It's been a while. I've been an admirer and a fan of Gordon Dimmack since the day I knew who he was, because of the way that he's fought for Julian Assange and sacrificed and showed up repeatedly. Lives in the UK. He's recorded videos, done TikToks, and he also writes. So he recently created a new website for all of his work, GordonDimmack.com. He's also building an electric bicycle there, so you can learn all about that too. I think it's called The Predator. But he wrote an article this week. He's been writing a bunch over there recently, and I'm glad he has. He created a new WordPress site, and he wrote this article, which he even tweeted what might be the most important thing he's ever written. And, they say the revolution will not be televised, right? Who was that? Was that Kwame Ture that says that? I don't remember who said that.
No.
Very famous. Anyway, he says the truth will not be printed. So go GordonDimmack.com.
Will not be televised.
Thank you, that phrase. The truth will not be printed.
Revolution will not be televised.
They've killed journalism. Start with this video. Just watch it. He says, this is how most of the British political and media class think. But the IDF is sniping children in the head. Whether you like it or not, Israel's our ally. What? IDF soldiers say they were ordered to shoot Palestinians waiting for food. How can we not support our ally? This is Britain's commitment to the rules-based order summarized. Rules for the rest, but not for the West and its allies. So, as long as you're allied to Washington and London, the British political and media class will excuse all kinds of atrocities and despicable war crimes. When these people tell you they have shared values with Israel, believe them. They share the values of genocidal colonial barbarism. Now, I'm going to play this. I hope it's not going to be too loud, and if so, I'll turn it down.
Nobody. It was just
I feel like that fake tan
what Bob Villan said. I think the chant has just helped nobody. It was just a really stupid thing to do. I understand why there's a lot of anger, but let's just talk about Lisa Nandy here and Keir Starmer and just this incredible selective outrage, which I find impossible to stomach, right? She finds it in her heart to rush to Parliament, to stand up, to question and demand answers from a BBC allowing this streaming of this band, making this chant. She doesn't rush to Parliament to demand answers and concrete action on the actions that we are seeing live streamed to us daily of the IDF who are committing alleged war crimes at the direction of their Prime Minister Netanyahu, who has an arrest warrant out for, again, war crimes.
Is that, hang on, let's just get I hear you, and I understand what you're saying completely.
Fuck you.
Annunziata, what's your response to that? How can someone be outraged about Villan and not outraged about people being shot up in food queues?
It is a very different thing to call for the deaths of our allies' armed forces.
No.
That is going against our country's interests, and it is calling for people to be killed.
But the IDF are snipering children.
It's whether you like it or not.
Technically their ally as well.
Who's? Russia? England? No.
The Britons.
No.
Pretty sure.
No way. No, there's a proxy war happening. There's a proxy war happening.
Uh-huh. Yes, that's why it's a proxy war. Like, technically, they're supposed to be our allies, too. We're doing the same shit.
Listen to me, Israel are one
all the time.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
there's another minute.
Like, I'm sure there's multiple instances where Britain fucking, like, people on British media have called for the deaths of an ally's fucking, like, army, you know?
We got another minute and a half of this genocidal fucking mental gymnastics, so let's watch.
Allies.
So if they're because they are allies.
Hang on, Maria, just one sec. Let Annunziata say her thing.
There are still hostages being held from a festival not dissimilar to Glastonbury, standing for peace, where the people attending were attacked, killed, raped, and taken hostage.
All right, Marina, let Marina talk.
But I'm sorry, children are paying the price. And are we saying that because they're our allies, we have to stand by as they sniper kids in their head?
And Hamas are using the humans in Gaza as human shields. They are using the people and the children.
Let me just show you the late. Hang on, let me just show you the latest. Hang on a second.
The IDF is using people as human shields because they literally are placing their headquarters next to hospitals.
I know how strongly you both feel about this.
Every accusation.
Just some information here, which is an Israeli newspaper actually called Haaretz. Yeah. This is an important article from the weekend where they say that IDF soldiers were ordered to shoot at Gazans who were waiting for food. So that was a development.
And laughing about it.
The question is this. How can we be angry at Villan and not even more angry about that?
How can we not support our
Just answer the
allies?
Just answer
that is what the country has set as our
Christ.
mission, that they are our allies, that we
Answer
are on
the fucking
their side,
question,
that
lady.
This is a war where there is one side on the right, one side on the wrong. Hamas have done the wrong thing.
Wow. Which one?
Wow.
However, everyone wants there to be a solution. We're not going to...
Wow. Wow.
Fucking
all she can say is
brain rot.
In under 2 minutes, it captures the rot in British media and politics better than most documentaries ever could, as our friend Gordon Dimmack goes on. The woman speaking in the video, that's Marina Purkis, 482,000 subscribers on Twitter, a podcaster and regular political commentator on TV. Very successful. She's basically saying to hell with children being shot in the head. And remember, this isn't some fringe live stream or YouTube podcast. This is daytime television, the Jeremy Vine show, which is kind of like, I guess, like Donahue or Dr. Phil here.
Probably.
She's arguing in plain English that it's okay if Israel shoots babies in the head because they're our ally. And apparently that means we don't get to criticize them.
How dare you not support our ally?
When are war crimes now below an allyship? I thought war crimes superseded that. And apparently that means we don't get to criticize them. Doesn't matter how many international laws they violate. Doesn't matter how many rights they trample, human rights they trample. Doesn't matter how many dogs rape their prisoners. Doesn't matter how many 7 months pregnant mothers they shoot in a one-shot to kill. It doesn't matter if it's apartheid, ethnic cleansing, genocide. It's all fine. It's fine because they're our ally. This is a state that expands its borders by force every single day. A state in violation of, I believe, more UN resolutions than every other country on earth combined. Yet we stand by while it shoots babies in the head while their mothers hold them. While it mows down 500 starving people going for flour. Because that's what this is. Genocide. But we mustn't criticize because they're our ally. Marina has a very big platform to say these things that defend sniping babies in the head. Tell me this. Where has Israel ever come to our aid, meaning England? Did they help us in Iraq, in Afghanistan, the Falklands? Can you think of a single time Israel sent troops to help the UK in any war? No, because they're a satellite. Here's something that might even interest these so-called right-wingers. Not that I love the label. Our entire military, it seems, is over there in the Middle East, protecting Israel's borders and stoking the very conflicts that led to the worst mass migration crisis since World War II. Meanwhile, our own borders, wide open. Anyone, Tom, Dick, or Harry, or whatever their name is, can show up on a dinghy unannounced. Maybe, just maybe, someone should question the relationship between those two facts. Huh. I wonder if Nigel Farage has ever connected those dots. Right? Any Ukrainian names? I think not. Yet we let them violate every law, every human right, and we say nothing. Worse, we silence anyone who does. This is the UK shitting all over international law, and the only journalists who get to speak, who get reach, who get platformed, are the ones who don't point it out, the ones who toe the line, the ones who justify sniping babies in the head. People like me, moi, we get silenced. We get our reach throttled. Because heaven forbid these thoughts, these inconvenient truths, ever reach the political sphere. This is the UK wiping its ass with the Geneva Conventions, with human rights, with international law, globally. We're torturing journalists, hijacking aid ships, backing genocides, and pretending we're still the good guys. And the media, they're not just ignoring it, they're enabling it. They're whitewashing it too. Every time they look away from what Israel is doing, every time they ignore the hijacking of the Madeleine, yeah, that really did happen. Israel really did board a ship and take it over and arrest everyone on there and deport them. Every time they pretend Julian Assange wasn't psychologically and physically destroyed in a Belmarsh cage. Every time they let the government kick disabled people to the gutter with benefit cuts that border on eugenics. Every time they do nothing, that's not neutrality, that's complicity. They're supposed to be the fourth estate, to hold power to account. Instead, they've become its PR department. Stenographers, well, he would say estate. He says he saw this firsthand. A few years back, Gordon was on a train, headphones in, but he wasn't listening to music. Two journalists were sat nearby talking shop. Both worked for the I paper. I wonder which one that is. They were discussing Ukraine or something. After a while, I introduced myself and told them I covered politics on YouTube. They asked what I thought of the topic they were discussing, and I said this, quote, "I'll tell you all you need to know about that. There's a genocide going on in Yemen right now. The UK is backing it, arming it, training the pilots. With the help of the US, we're even refueling their planes in midair. Every week, a transport plane sends parts to Saudi Arabia from the UK to service the planes bombing water towers during the largest outbreak of cholera in human history. We're doing everything but pulling the trigger." One of them looked stunned. She told me she'd been trying to get an article published about that exact thing, but she never got it published. What did she get published sometime later? A piece based on a press release from Ukraine's so-called Ministry of Truth, claiming Russian soldiers raped dozens of women in a basement of a basement. 9 of them were pregnant. Human Rights Watch interviewed one of the victims by phone. No verification, no investigation, just stenography. It was published in just about every Western outlet you could find. Ukraine war, girls and women raped in Bucha basement, officials say. Again, no evidence, no names, no medical verification, just war propaganda dressed up as journalism. And it ran around the world before the truth even laced up its boots. Each article had slightly different wording, but they all ran with the story uncritically, because that's what happens when one of the wire services puts this shit out. And let's not forget, the Ukrainian official at the center of these claims wasn't part of the Ministry of Defense, but was in fact Ukraine's Human Rights Commissioner. She was eventually dismissed for focusing too heavily on sensational, unverified sexual violence claims that experts said lacked evidence and harmed the credibility of actual human rights work. But
and
sure,
don't go look up stories like Ukrainian baby factories. Don't go look up any of those stories like you can on INN News. You can,
holy shit.
You can go check that out there.
Even Deutsche Welle reported that international observers were alarmed by how these unsubstantiated claims were being weaponized, prioritized for media attention, while verified violations were underreported or ignored. Because they like sensationalizing rape, every accusation is a confession. Yep. This is how propaganda eclipses justice. The fake gets the headlines, while the verified gets buried. This is how the system works. And the cost of telling the truth in this country? Ask the people who dared. Richard Medhurst threatened with terrorism charges for reporting on Gaza. Craig Murray in prison for jigsaw identification in the Alex Salmond trial. Asa Winstanley, house raided and ransacked, charges later dropped for his reporting on Palestine. Fiona Ryan, raided multiple times by police, arrested on one occasion for saying, "Make Christmas Palestinian again." Bethlehem, by the way, is in Palestine.
In occupied Palestine, yep.
All of these are UK examples. All of them face intimidation, arrest, or exile. And that's nothing compared to what happened at Palestine Action this week. We'll get to that next time.
Yeah.
Gordon says, one of my friends is currently abroad. They know as soon as they return to the UK, they'll be arrested. Not for violence, not for hate speech, for telling the truth. I'm guessing that's Kit Clarenberg, but I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
It could be a bunch of them. It's not that journalists don't know the angle. They do. Not that, but they also know what won't get published. So they fall in line. Not because they're being directly censored, but because they know what's expected. They know what pays the rent. Like Chomsky said to Andrew Marr in Manufacturing Consent, "I'm not saying you're self-censoring. I'm sure you believe everything you say. But what I'm saying is, if you believed something different, you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting." All right?
Correct.
That's
they
right
know
here.
what they're buying.
Is a censoring organization.
You probably
tell
can't
me how
play
that
that,
works.
I bet.
You're not suggesting that proprietors...
Is this
phone one
BBC?
Probably.
Yeah? Okay. I will.
Or someone owns it.
It was only 8 seconds. There were train cancellations that day. I met the iPaper ladies, and they were in the cheap seats with me. The train was packed. I remember them saying the word scoop about a dozen times and how they were jealous of some colleagues who were more connected than they are, with more prolific with leaks from insiders, scoops. That was the obsession, not truth, not justice, just scoops. Okay? If you come at stories through the lens of international law, you're out. If you try to hold our side accountable, you get kicked to the edge. John Pilger, Robert Fisk, Glenn Greenwald, Chris Hedges. The rule of law is supposed to be universal, but here, it's a tool of power applied selectively. Let's talk facts. Israel has violated more UN Security Council resolutions than any other country on earth. As of 2023, over 45 binding resolutions have been passed against Israel and either ignored, vetoed, or violated. Meanwhile, the UK government has consistently blocked or watered down resolutions calling for ceasefires, arms embargoes, or investigations. In 2023, the UK cowardly abstained or voted against UN measures seeking accountability for war crimes in Gaza. On nuclear weapons, Israel is not a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. It has never declared its nuclear arsenal, yet is widely believed to possess between 80 and 400 nuclear warheads. Of course, we know the secrets for those warheads.
And that's a big fucking difference between 80 and 400. Might like to know the exact number. Would be nice.
And of course, the BBC. According to a new analysis by Declassified UK, the BBC published over 100 articles on Iran's nuclear program in just 3 weeks, while only 6 of them even mentioned Israel's nuclear weapons. 5 of these mentions were a single line buried in the final paragraph and always caveated with Israel denies this, of course. Only 1 article explored the subject with any substance in the 9th and final paragraph. Denies that they have nuclear weapons.
Like, are they denying that they have them?
Yes.
Okay.
Even RFK admitted that he knew, and that they admitted to him that they had them. This is the scale of media complicity. Right. It's not passive ignorance. It's active narrative management. And when the rule of law breaks down like this, anarchy follows. And not the kind with mohawks and petrol bombs, the kind where war criminals wear suits and the press hold their coats. And here's the thing, when the government no longer abides by the law, when they openly ignore international treaties, human rights conventions, and their own legal standards, why should anyone else? This is how society breaks down, not overnight, not with riots in the streets, but with a quiet, corrosive loss of legitimacy. When people see their leaders commit crimes with impunity, something fundamental breaks. This is what the government is flirting with. And the terrifying thing is, I don't think they even know, let alone have any plan for what happens when that dam finally bursts. Well, they all got theirs, so they'll be fine financially. That's how they all see it. Take a few minutes to watch this video to see what's exactly in store for us if we allow our governments to continue. When a people realize the law isn't there to protect them, they turn to violence. All right? This is the director of the International Center of Justice for Palestinians, speaking at a panel in London titled Genocide in Gaza, Trump's Policy and the Crisis of Law and Media, organized by the ICJP. All right, I'm not going to show that, but he says, we're not in democracy anymore. We're in managed decline. And journalism, the one thing that was supposed to hold the line, is too busy chasing click-throughs and Whitehall invites. And the so-called journalists, they know. They just know it won't get published. So he says, here's a final word. And look, I'm really trying here. This is me doing everything I can to keep the truth alive, to document the hypocrisy, to fight for people who can't speak freely anymore. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for fame. I'm asking you to share this. Just share it with one friend on one feed, wherever you can. Because silence is what they want, and your voice might be the thing that breaks it. Julian Assange once wrote to me from Belmarsh, truth ultimately is all we have. And as he said before, Censorship is always an opportunity because it reveals a fear of reform. Remember that the next time they try to silence you. Again, this is our brother, Indie Media Award honoree, Gordon Dimmack at gordondimmack.com. His new website is over here. I encourage everyone to subscribe to it for free. I'm sure there's a donate link. This, again, is the Panther, the electric bike that he's building from scratch, built by us, built by him. There it is. Very cool. So, and then again, there is also his journalism, which you can get to here by clicking on blog. And this is where you can get to his political dispatches, which are all of his articles. He wrote this morning about Palestine Action isn't a group anymore. It's a movement now that they've been outlawed in the UK. Horrible stuff. And I appreciate my brother Gordon for doing that. Support independent media. That's what we do. We read independent media and independent journalists' articles. We read the whole thing. We let you figure it out for yourself. We don't try to tell you what they're saying. We let you hear it and figure it out for yourself. Really important stuff. So before we move to the next article, which is also really important stuff, I'm going to ask if you're able to, out of means, to please support the media you want to see. Well, that's weird. The bar's not there. But, yeah, these amazing people, this is our Wall of Fame. They've supported INN with some kind of contribution somewhere. The best places to do that are at Cash App, $, Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, over at indienewsnow.com. That's our website, which also has a bunch of news from a bunch of other places, including Gordon's article, by the way, as well as the next one from Dissent in Bloom, linked to it. Also at Substack, INNnewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com. Both of those go to Substacks where you can support financially there with a monthly or annual subscription. So, what's up, everyone? It's so good to see everyone. Adam Ayers, by the way, Kameshwari Kate, was at the Third Eye Carnival this weekend in Pueblo, Colorado. So that's why you haven't seen Anna. She also had something happen physically. She got hurt. Her eye got messed up or something. Yeah, she's shout out, love to her friend Anna. She's around. She's actually been in the AM Wake Up Telegram group pretty actively, even today. So if you want, I'll say hi to her for you when we're done. But all right, we're gonna get to our feature story, I would call it. And again, this is about the voting machines. Dissent in Bloom has kind of reinvigorated my passion for cleaning up the machines, or getting rid of the machines would be even better. All right. But we read an article of hers last week about Jack Cobb and about his partner and about these two guys that are among the gatekeepers in certifying the software for our voting machines. So she wrote a follow-up article that I found fascinating and was going to bring last week, but we ran out of time. It's also a long one and very worthy of its own time. So I decided to do that tonight. She writes this article, which is 6705 Odyssey Drive, where your vote is certified and missiles are built, which is weird. An expose into the Huntsville, Alabama factory linking voting machine certification to the military-industrial complex. Okay, so again, Dissent, who again is in chat, so you can say hi. She's over at YouTube or Substack, I'm not sure where. After my last report, I kept coming back to something small. It was one of those details that at first seems too mundane to matter. But the longer I sat with it, the more important it became, is that address that I read. That's the official address for Pro V&V Incorporated, who we talked about last week. They're located in Suite C of the building, according to the Election Assistance Commission. This building is one of only 2 testing centers in the country trusted to certify the very machines that count our votes. Not a big deal, right? As we've all recently discovered in my last article, this private election certification lab is owned and operated by none other than ex-cyber employee Jack Cobb, real legal name Ryan Jackson Cobb. That's the building, very nondescript industrial-looking building in the middle of an industrial park. She says, at first I assumed that Pro V&V was simply leasing space there, but no, it's much more than that. After purchasing property records from the Alabama Secretary of State, the Senate discovered that 6705 Odyssey Drive was purchased for $2.45 million in June of 2019 through a shell company called Procog LLC. Okay? Well, Odyssey Partners, Procog, $10 considering the sum of $10 and other good valuable assets, all right, they sold the land. That's really weird. The Grand Tour. All right, here's a record of them, Procog LLC, all right, at this address, 6705 Odyssey Drive, Huntsville, for $2.45 million. The deal to purchase the building was done through Maynard, Cooper & Gale, which is now Maynard Nexus, interesting, a Republican law firm whose PAC, funded by its own employees, operates as a quiet extension of its donor base, also really shady. According to Open Secrets, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars each year on the GOP. Their client list spans defense, energy, finance, and big tech, exactly who you would need to be able to pull this off. There also are some ties to the Federalist Society, but we'll talk about that another time. This law firm also represented Trump's 2016 campaign back in Alabama when it was sued for inciting violence against a black protester at a rally. I kept searching to find who owned it. Can you imagine my shock when public records led me to who actually owns the shell company? Mr. Jack Cobb himself. Huh. Why would he create a shell company in 2014 called Procog LLC and then buy a building in 2019? Remember, this guy had been disgraced and delegitimized from certifying elections. So what the fuck is he doing? According to the deed, he doesn't just own Suite C, he owns the entire building. The site spans 6.2 acres and includes a 22,672 square foot building. Inside, there is a 15,132 square foot office space, a 2,100 square foot assembly arena, all right, and a 5,400 square foot high bay with 45-foot ceiling, so you could load in its warehouse space.
It's free real estate.
The building is fully climate controlled, wired in 3-phase electrical power, and equipped with 2 backup generators, the kind used to keep operations running through blackouts or technical failures. This isn't a strip mall office with a drop ceiling and a fax machine, okay? This is a serious industrial building. At first, that seemed like the end of the trail. Jack Cobb bought the building. He'd done it through a shell company. He used a politically connected law firm with a long history of representing Republican interests in federal contractors. That alone should have raised eyebrows. But the more I looked into where this building actually sits, the more obvious it became that this wasn't just a matter of ownership, it was intentional. The multi-suite building, it's one of many buildings in Cummings Research Park. This again is the second largest research park in the United States and one of the largest in the world. It's the Silicon Valley of military contractors. It was built quite literally to house the Defense Department contractors working on missile systems, satellite payloads, and classified defense infrastructure. This is the place where $850 billion of our tax dollars will go to die this year. Not all of it, but a good chunk of it. Raytheon has space there. Boeing does too. So does Lockheed Martin. SAIC, yes, the same SAIC that Sean Southworth works at. That's the other guy that we talked about last week that taught this guy everything he knows. Northrop Grumman, Leidos, and a dozen other lesser-known firms whose names only appear in procurement filings and defense subcontracts. Okay, again. And now, tucked among...
DARPA across the street?
Yep. Tucked among the missile designers and space surveillance firms sits a voting machine certification lab owned by a man who spent his entire career inside this exact world, from his time at Cyber Inc. to Wiley Laboratories to KBR to now inside Pro V&V, his own company. Here's where things get even... Seriously, here's where things get even more twisted. This is why I wanted to bring this story, because it's unbelievable that this can all happen in plain sight and nobody does anything about it. Using Google Maps, Descent discovered that in November of 2023, the building at 6705 Odyssey Drive, the same building owned by Jack Cobb, was a labeled location for Dynetics Inc. This wasn't speculation. This is a live listing, publicly visible and timestamped while Cobb owned the property. They're intentionally not showing that Pro V&V is even on the building at all. Now, this isn't from before he took ownership in 2019. By that point, he had held the deed for 4 years. We also know that EAC documents sourced in the previous article that Jack Cobb had moved Pro V&V into this building at this point too. So what exactly is Dynetics? Again, a Leidos company? Well, they're a Huntsville-based defense contractor that builds things like missiles, hypersonic weapons, radar systems, and even space warfare tools. Their clients include DARPA, NASA, and the military. In 2020, they were bought for $1.65 billion by Leidos, a huge government contractor. And Leidos is no small player. They make over $15 billion a year and work across everything from cybersecurity to surveillance to military logistics and intelligence systems. They've got contracts with the Defense Department, Homeland Security, DOE, and even NASA. They're one of the most powerful private companies working inside the U.S. government, and you've probably never heard of them until tonight. I know I hadn't until I read this. And here's the thing, even though Dynetics and Leidos do not publicly list 6705 Odyssey Drive as their location, we can clearly see images from 2023 showing Dynetics operating out of Jack Cobb's building. So, when Dynetics was occupying part of that facility, they were doing it on property owned by the man certifying our voting machines at the same time he was there certifying changes to our election machines. But the connections go even deeper. Again, SAIC, the company that Leidos originally came from, is located within walking distance of Cobb's building in the Cummings Research Park. The proximity isn't just geographical, it's historical. Because remember who else, per LinkedIn, works at SAIC? Jack Cobb's buddy, Sean Southworth. Yes, the same Sean Southworth who oversaw testing at Cyber Inc., the lab that was caught certifying changes on federal voting machines without proper audits or documentation. The same lab that Cobb worked at as a project manager on. The same Southworth who disappeared from public view after Cyber lost its federal accreditation. The same man who record suggests helped shape Jack Cobb's entire approach to election system, quote-unquote, certification. Cobb and Southworth didn't just work together, they moved in sync across the same series of labs, Cyber, Wiley, and now seemingly both in the orbit of SAIC and Leidos. Don't forget, during their time at Cyber, reports suggest that they did so while election vendors like Diebold and ES&S paid them for results. Not testing, not security, just approval. And now they've come full circle. It's insane what we have here. So we have Jack Cobb owning a facility that may have housed a weapons contractor. a voting lab inside that building certifying changes to election systems. Dynetics is listed at the same address. Southwark working nearby in the same industrial park at SAIC. And all of this is operating inside a taxpayer-funded zone created for federal defense contractors. And of course, there's another layer to this, which is politics. Leidos and SAIC are not just contractors, they're heavy political players. Both companies spend millions each election cycle lobbying Congress and federal agencies. And according to federal filings, their donations are not balanced. The money consistently leans Republican. Not surprised. They're based in Alabama. Of course it leans Republican. Leidos PACs gave more than 60% of their contributions to Republican candidates in recent election cycles. SAIC is similar. These are companies that benefit when Republican administrations support military expansion, private contracting, and reduced oversight. In fact, under the current Trump administration, Leidos has done incredibly well. While many other federal contractors were hit with large budget cuts by DOGE, Leidos lost almost nothing. They ran between the raindrops. Their 2025 Q1 earnings report actually shows a revenue increase of more than 6% in just a few months. Cuts to their federal contracts amounted to just 0.33% of their projected revenue. By comparison, Deloitte lost over $470 million in contracts. Accenture, $193 million. IBM lost $100 million. Leidos barely flinched. Their CEO, Tom Bell, publicly praised the Trump admin and DOGE in a May 2025 earnings call. Of course he did. They made him rich. The $1 trillion military, that's music to his ears. He said that they're having more direct conversations with cabinet officials than ever before. Expansion of the military state. He said those officials are listening. He said they now are they're now open to hearing Leidos' big ideas, including massive defense infrastructure proposals like a national Golden Dome missile shield. These are the assholes behind the Golden Dome.
Where have we heard domes do well before? Oh, nowhere.
Well, for a while it did until it didn't, right? So again, continuing. So when we talk about election integrity, maybe we've been looking in the wrong direction. Maybe the real danger isn't coming from shadowy foreign actors or rogue poll workers. It's inside the house. Maybe it's coming from places no one ever checks. Places like a defense-grade facility in Huntsville, Alabama, quietly owned by a man with a history of certifying broken voting machines. A building that may double as a weapons lab and a voting lab. A building wrapped in shell companies, backed by GOP-connected lawyers, sitting just steps from defense firms with billion-dollar ties to the federal government. Again, nothing to see here. Please disperse. The people who build the missiles are sharing a business park with the people who approve our ballots. And the gatekeepers, they're not public servants. They're contractors. They're lobbyists. They're the same handful of names moving through different doors in the same hallway. We've been told that our votes are protected by secure systems, but what if those systems were never meant to protect us? What if they were meant to protect power? Great questions by Descent in Bloom. If you're not following her yet, descentinbloom.substack.com, DISSENT in Bloom, INBLOOM. Substack.com. Very funny. Reef suggested you should change it to DASCENT, Descent, because you're blooming in your flowers. So, scent. All right. Again, independent journalism. All right. Takes time, risk, resources. If you value reporting that doesn't cower, please consider subscribing. All right. You can subscribe free. She's not paywalling her content, but she is going to need funding and an upgrade from paid subs to continue. And I can see she's getting some really good action on this article as well. 400 likes, 250 restacks. I don't know if I've got 400 likes in this year from all of my posts combined on Substack. So again, great article. Thank you for bringing it. Thank you for everyone for bearing with me as I raged through that bullshit. because I cannot believe that this shit actually is allowed to happen. That nobody is responsible for this. Who's accountable for all of this? We've learned about the EAC and that they're basically rubber stamping whatever these people say. So who's holding the EAC accountable? Apparently nobody.
We've investigated ourselves and we found we've done nothing wrong.
All right. So Birdhouse Blues. I wonder if this Huntsville Chamber of Commerce has Dianetics on their list of BBB A+ ratings. I'll bet they do.
It's way too close. It's way too close to Dianetics for me.
Right?
That, like, I can't believe that's not coincidental. You know?
It's unreal.
Like L. Ron Hubbard probably in the list somewhere.
Right?
So
yeah, democracy, shamocracy. That's right, Kieran Pine. Thank you for your super chat the other night, or for your PayPal support. So you made the Wall of Fame, and now you're up there. So thank you again for that. Desert Mantis, thanks for making me even more angry at our government. Again, that's Dissent in Bloom doing that. I'm just reading it and raging at her article because she's kick-ass. Really appreciate the work that she's doing to put this in and to file the FOIA requests and to investigate the buildings and pay the Alabama Secretary of State for the filing of who actually bought the building. All that stuff takes funding. So please support her if you can. But not just her, we also need support over at INN. That's our Wall of Fame. Like I said, Kieran Pine, you're now on that wall down in the bottom right corner. Thank you again. All those amazing people have supported INN. The ways to do that is $ Indie News Network over on Cash App, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, at indienewsnow.com. That's our website. And at the Substacks, INNnewsletter.com and IndieMediaToday.com. Now, I also have a lightning round of a few stories that I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I did want to bring because they are noteworthy. We haven't really talked about labor much lately on this show because what Trump has been doing and Israel have been dominating the narrative. But I don't want to ignore it this week. There was a major strike in Philadelphia from the city workers this week. I don't know if they're back to work yet. I think they made a deal. But this was something that I also saw that really concerned me. World Socialist website published 2 articles this week. One of them was both about Philadelphia. One was about the transit workers. And this one also, Philadelphia Transit Board votes to enact a doomsday budget to dismantle the transit system. All right. So what they're talking about is a 45% reduction in services beginning in August. All right. So 9,000 city workers, including trash removal. And I saw a video of garbage building up in the streets, right? Water, street maintenance against poverty pay, which is what the city workers are getting. And of course, the city has a massive budget shortfall already. Now what they want to do is cut 32 bus routes on August 24th, a reduction in services on existing routes, and the end of special event services entirely. A 21.5% fare increase is also slated for September. So not only are we cutting 32 bus routes, we're raising the price on the ones that are left. Then the second phase of cuts to begin the beginning of next year will see the elimination of 5 regional rail lines, 18 more bus routes, and the imposition of a 9 o'clock curfew at night on all remaining services. Also that we can give that money to Israel, of course. All right. It will effectively dismantle SEPTA. All right. And they talked about how 50% of SEPTA's ridership earned less than $34,000 annually. And another 21% earns $15,000 or less. They are completely reliant on public transportation, and you're about to take it away from them. They can move to a 15-minute city, right? I guess that's the idea here. Unreal. The reduction in transportation services is also estimated to have a devaluing effect of around $19 billion in real estate. Because if you can't even get public transportation there, that reduces the value of the property. Insane. Check this article out. It'll also enrage you. You brought this one. You wanted me to share this. I'll play the audio version. Jim Hightower's Radio Lowdown. Thank you, whoever that was. Appreciate that. Jim Hightower. All right.
Don't let it be said that the super rich care only about themselves, always taking from society and giving nothing back. Consider the generous billionaires who live on an island in Florida's Biscayne Bay. Amazon kingpin Jeff Bezos lives there, as do Ivanka Trump and her hubby Jared Kushner. Actually, their so-called island is fake, built in the bay so a few dozen absurdly rich sparklies don't have to mix with commoners living in the adjacent town of Surfside. Snootiness aside, though, the billionaires have literally been giving of themselves to Surfside's people. Specifically, their bodily waste has been leaking from the septic systems of their mansions, polluting the town's environment.
What?
Yes, the rich are actually defecating on commoners. Facing public scorn, the Bezos-Trump-Kushner clan proposed piping their excrement into Surfside's sewer system. Okay, but when the city asked for $10 million to help cover the pipe's cost, the billionaires squealed like stuck hogs. Come on, $10 million for them is like $10 for you and me. Of course, moneyed elites did not get rich by playing fair, but by playing the system. So, they dispatched their lobbyists and lawyers to Governor Ron DeSantis. Sure enough, bam! Republican officials suddenly and secretly approved a new state provision decreeing that local communities like Surfside cannot interfere with or even demand payment for such special interest sewer projects as the Bezos-Trump-Kushner hookup. Then, again with no publicity, DeSantis signed the billionaire's corrupt law, no doubt assured that they would reward his kindness later on. This is Jim Hightower saying,
they will.
Ironically, the word defecate is derived from a Latin verb meaning to cleanse. But there's not enough soap in Florida to clean the hands of these dirty dealers. The Hightower Radio Lowdown is made possible by you subscribers to Jim Hightower's Lowdown on Substack. Find us at jimhightower.substack.com.
Or Jim Hightower. He's
Substack newsletter near you.
He's another OG independent who's been taking on the system for a long, long time. So literally piping their shit in and then getting the governor to sign a law saying that they're allowed to do it. Unbelievable.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
Now, I did want to get to, yeah, and it's terrible, but I did want to get to a little bit about the tax bill, about this big, beautiful bullshit nonsense bill that is now about to become law. All right. Professor Richard Wolff, Trump's tax bill shifts the cost of a declining U.S. empire and economy onto the poorest and middle by massive cuts in social programs class. The bill helps the richest keep or grow their wealth, so inequality soars. Happy July 4th. Okay. Motley Jew, friend of the show. Maybe this will cause Dems to look in a mirror and stop rigging primaries. LOL. Of course it won't. Right? And Alia Moro reminds us that also all of Planned Parenthood got defunded today in case anyone needed more bad news. Thanks, Trump. That was always their plan. Now, Dissent in Bloom actually wrote a post about that, very personal, that she got an email from Planned Parenthood today about the fact that they're funding, that if you were on Medicaid, that they no longer accept Medicaid at Planned Parenthood. And Dissent said that at one point she grew up poor and she had to use it from like 18 to 22. And without it, she would have been sunk. So, again, most Americans across the political spectrum have no idea just how fucked this bill truly is. Every American struggling with school loans that was already intended to keep them in debt forever will now see their payments double to triple and their chance for forgiveness to go from 20 to 30 years. Oh, yeah, and forget about forbearance for economic hardship. They eliminated that protection, too. every new prospective college student will get far less financial aid and grant opportunities than their parents who take out plus loans will be no longer eligible for income-based assistance programs. Draconian. Every senior citizen whose only income was senior Social Security will receive zero benefit from the no tax on Social Security because they weren't paying taxes on theirs to begin with. The only people this helps are middle and upper middle class, predominantly white and privileged people who have large pensions and additional incomes. That's just 3 of the hundreds of ways in which this abomination of a bill is going to fuck us American peasants and the collapse of the American economy and American innovation from this day forward. I hope all the dumb fucks who are still cheering for this go out and enjoy themselves greatly today, because starting tomorrow, they too will be getting bent over and railed hard by just what's been unleashed. Fell for it again. They're just too goddamn stupid to know it. Yep. I also wanted one other thing. This popped up. Wow. So there's 8 wallets that are connected to this user. Imagine the balls it takes to not only hodl what is now $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin for 14 years from a $7,800 cost basis, but to send it all out with a single click and no test transaction? There's 8 wallets connected to this user with 10,000 Bitcoin in each wallet, all dormant for 14 years. Cost basis is the same in all, about 78 cents per Bitcoin, which again is now valued at over $100,000 a piece. This person paid 78 cents for them. It's all profit. The total mark-to-market profit is over $8 billion off of an initial investment of only $78,000. All Bitcoin on the move. Now, there was some speculation as to whose Bitcoin this is. Some people thought it might have been Michael Saylor holding on for a long time. He might have had a big loan due and had to cash out.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to want to pay income tax on $8 billion. My feeling, there's another person that had a whole bunch of wallets that was locked up for 14 years. That would certainly benefit from $8 billion right now.
Pretty penny.
You have a soundbite that would apply to that. Licky Leaks?
Do I? Licky Leaks?
Yeah. Because I believe that there's a man by the name of Julian Assange that has a bunch of Bitcoin wallets. Nobody knows where they are or what they are. Could they be
Assange's.
That guy? Could it be his wallets? Could he have literally just cashed out a portion of his Bitcoin holdings? We don't even know how much Bitcoin he holds. But we know that for years, he was debanked and had to transact in crypto, in Bitcoin, when it actually was decentralized DeFi using a cold wallet, using, like a USB storage. So the fact that it was done without a test transaction also leads me to question whether it was somebody in the know like a Michael Saylor, because they never would have done that without testing it first to transact $8 billion without knowing if it'll go through first. Okay. But it worked. There's the records of the transactions from this wallet to this wallet, where they went from and to. Having 7 other wallets with 10,000 Bitcoin each while transferring, he may have said in Forrest Gump voice, I just got it. Interesting. What if Dave Ramsey is Satoshi? Funny. Biggest whale. Yeah, this is one of the biggest cash outs we've seen yet. All right. They cashed out at just under 110,000 a coin from a cost basis of 78 cents. I've never seen a profit spread like that. That's crazy. All right. Interestingly enough, again, Golden Monarch reminds us that, like Trump, Michael Saylor once thought that Bitcoin was a scam. So he wouldn't have been buying Bitcoin back in 2014. He wouldn't have those wallets then. All right. As he says that initially, if it was Saylor, but that activity was all in 2011, if he recalls, Saylor didn't even get involved until 2013, fully going on board in 2020. Correct. Oh, it could also be, you're right, Ross Ulbricht, potentially. Silk Road. All right. Interesting to speculate who it might be. So that's our lightning round. But also, we've got our friends who have GoFundMes, and I wanted to highlight them. We've got Shanda, who's up to $1,430 raised out of her 5,000 goal. She is now cancer-free. Terry the tumor is dead. Okay, she's still got a long way to go. She's still got massive scar tissue, inflammation. She's got a lot of pain and pneumatitis.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor.
Pneumonitis, but it's not cancer, so that's good. So if you're able to help Shanda, shout out to our friend Shanda. She'll be live hopefully tomorrow, Trailer Park Pundit. They all got together. The Roar Media family got together over July 4th weekend. Was really happy to see that. I know she had some car trouble too. So that's another thing that she needs money for. She practically had to limp her car there and back or something. Oz was telling us that story the other night. So again, anything that you could do to help Shanda, she could use any cash. She's not the only one, unfortunately. We've got Anna Marie. Okay, Zygmunt Smith. That's Andrew Zygmunt Smith, her dad. Action for Assange. You know him well. Okay, she's been dealing with brain tumors. They went to Cincinnati. They did treatments. She's learning to walk with a cane. Happy little girl. It's just embracing life, and they could use all the help they could get. Again, I mentioned Oz earlier. Oz also could use some help. Oh, there's Oz. No Trailer Park Pundit this week. Sorry. They're both out sick. Okay, well, hope they're all feeling better. This is Oz's Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/OzTheBoomer. Shout out and love to our brother Oz. Go hook him up with a couple of bucks if you can. Everybody could use some cash for sure. And then we've got our friend Aspen Benson, Halo's daughter, who's again facing $30,000 in defense costs for her legal defense. She got caught up in a crazy story where she literally is facing 30 plus years in prison for drug trafficking, and she just happened to be in a car and didn't even know that the guy was a convicted drug trafficker and had stuff there too on the in the car with them, apparently. Crazy. Then again, we've got our website again, IndieNewsNow.com. We want to make the media that we want to see, so we made this website showcasing a feed of articles, videos, and podcasts from the independents that we believe in and support. So you've got Sam Husseini, and you've got Normal Island News, and Antiwar.com, and you've got AM Wake Up's Rumble, and the Duran from Rumble, and Greg Reese from the Reese Report. And this is just a few of a little bit of a sample. Seven C's hanging out with Wheezy today, talking about what happened with Alex Jones. All right. So you can go over there, but also there is the Keep the News Free, where you can give a direct donate link right there and buy some merch over at the old shop. I'm still working on getting the new shop connected. All right. And then you can also watch live. So when we were streaming Third Eye Carnival yesterday, all of that was right here, also at IndieNewsNow.com/live. So even if you were unable to watch it on any of the other platforms, you could watch it right here, totally ad-free. And hopefully, yep, there you go. Hey, what's up, everyone? There we are live at IndieNewsNow.com. This, by the way, is the new shop. That is IndieNewsShop.itemorder.com. All right, you can get there.
Buy my merch, little bitch.
Buy my merch.
Look at my shirt, little bitch.
Check out my website.
Buy my merch right quick. Look at my shirt, little bitch. Go to my website.
All right, so you can pick up an INN t-shirt, or you can get an indie shirt, or a lot of different shirts that are there. There's over 30 designs. Angel in the Afternoon, I think there's an Angel Rivera shirt. You got Snow Himbo if you want to put Snow Himbo's face Zago Brother illustration. Awesome. Check that out right there. Maple Files, hoodies, everything, including beanies. INN beanie. Go get one of those. $19. Can't do much better than that. Stickers, all of it right there. IndieNewsShop.itemorder.com. Again, I put the link in the chat. All right. Before we go, again, one more time. Fund the media you want to see. If you want to get on that wall of fame, the way to do that is Cash App, $, Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, at indienewsnow.com, and over at Substack at innnewsletter.com and at indiemediatoday.com. We're going to head over to boats, smashing into other boats in a few minutes. OMG, look at the time. That's right, Kate. It's almost midnight on the East Coast, which means that it's time to switch over to boats. So if you're on YouTube, go over to INN 8 the Ocho or on Rumble. If you're on Substack, go to innnewsletter.com. We'll be live over there. And if you're on Kick or on Twitch or on Twitter, we're going to go live on that channel, same place that we were now. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out tonight. Really appreciate everybody in chat. And support independent media because we need it more than ever. I love you all, and we'll see you soon.
See you in a bit, fam.
Mwah. Ciao, baby.
We gonna party.
Bye-bye! No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say?
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to me, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe? Were you safe?
Fresh off the masses, the brand new cancerous growth, who has come here to